Hi, I'm Tabobo Pape. Welcome and thank you for joining us once again for our second lesson on transactional writing. Do you remember our last lesson on diction and style? We looked at diction, which is the choice of words, and how your choice of words change depending on the situation and thus have to be appropriate to the situation. We also looked at style, which equally has to be appropriate to the situation and also depends on the situation, the person you're speaking to, the purpose of your communication, and also the subject matter, what you are discussing. In today's lesson on transactional writing, we are going to be looking at friendly communication, writing to friends. So, the style and diction that we will be using is informal as opposed to formal. We will also be looking at writing a friendly letter and writing postcards to friends. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to use the correct style and diction for friendly communication, select appropriate content, set out a friendly letter and postcard. Before we look at the format of a friendly letter, there are some general points that you must know that are applicable to communicating with your friends in any way, including writing letters, postcards, and even emails. First of all, in friendly communication, it is important to establish a friendly tone and style. So, friendly letters do not have to be as serious or formal as business letters, because normally they're written to people you know. Another factor you should remember is to use the appropriate diction for your audience, which is the person that you are writing to. It always helps to keep your audience in mind. For example, don't use slang when writing to your grandmother. Words like yo or what's up would not be appropriate. At the same time, don't use too many formal expressions when writing to a close friend. Although they might be grammatically correct, they would not be appropriate for the situation or the person that you're addressing. You should also introduce your content. The content will depend on who you are writing to and what the purpose of your letter is. Don't include too many boring details, but remember to set the scene and describe who was involved. It's also important for you to remember to keep your content interesting. Be sure to tell the parts that are the most entertaining or dramatic. You can even include people's exact words as direct speech. In addition to telling your news, encourage the person to reply by asking them some questions and showing an interest in what they are doing. To demonstrate the importance of appropriate diction and style, let's look at these two postcards. Would you send a postcard like this to your grandmother? How's it, Gran? I'm having a lekker time in Durbs. It's a cool place. Check you later, Simon. The problem with this postcard is that it's far too informal, considering that you're sending it to your grandmother. As you can see, the content is also very sketchy, as it sounds like the holiday is going well, but doesn't give any details. Now, let's look at the second example and see if this diction and style are more appropriate and whether or not the content is more suitable. Dear Gran, we are having a super time in Durban. The weather has been terrific, so we have been able to swim in the sea every day. Love, Simon. This postcard is more like it because it uses friendly and chatty style and the diction is neither too formal or too casual. The content of the postcard is also good because it gives some detail about the holiday and reasons why it is enjoyable. This postcard has been set out correctly. I'm sure that you know that postcards are divided in half. On the left-hand side, you write your message, and on the right-hand side, you write the recipient's address. Remember to leave a space to stick a stamp in the top right-hand corner. Be sure to get the address correct and remember to include the postal code, as otherwise your postcard may only turn up long after you have returned from your holiday. Although there is not too much space on a postcard, always remember to begin with a friendly greeting and end with an appropriate closing. The next time you're on a holiday, buy a few postcards and send them to your friends. Now that you have a general idea of the appropriate tone, style and diction for friendly writing, let us consider the friendly letter. Now, you may ask why you have to write letters at school, because if you want to tell someone something, you just pick up the phone and give them a call. Well, apart from letters being asked for in your examinations, letters can be a lot of fun. Imagine how excited you would be if a letter arrived in your postbox instead of just bills and junk mail. A letter is also something that you can keep to read again and again. Ask your parents and grandparents if they have any letters that they have saved. Maybe one of your relatives worked far away from home and has written to describe their new city. Maybe you have letters written to you by friends or family in rural areas, or even from another country such as Zimbabwe or Lesotho. Reading letters that were special enough to save may give you some inspiration for writing a special letter of your own. If you're jotting a short note to a friend, it's not too important to use the correct format. But for school, it's very important that you set out your letter correctly. Also, if you set out your letter correctly, the recipient, that being your friend, will be able to save it, and also at a later date will be able to tell when it was written and where. Here is the correct format for a friendly letter. This is a letter written by Mbali to her brother. The sender's address is in block form halfway across the page. Remember, no punctuation is included in the address or the date. The greeting is usually just "Dear," followed by the person's first name or another appropriate form of address such as "My dear grandmother." In your opening line, you should try to think of an appropriate introduction that would encourage your reader to continue. Here, Mbali uses "ever since you left." So, how about you using something like, "The most exciting thing has just happened and I wanted you to be the first to know." Or, "You may think that Benoni is a dull place, but things have changed." As you can see, paragraphs are written in block form with a line between them. In the final section, there is no punctuation, just an appropriate closing line, and the sender's first name are included. We've talked about the format of the letter, but now let's read through the content. "Dear Sipho, ever since you left to study in Johannesburg, things just haven't been the same. When we play cricket in the evenings, we don't have a wicket keeper. It sounds like you're having a good time and are enjoying life in the hostel. Just make sure that you don't spend too much time partying and not enough time studying. I can't wait until you come home for midterm break. Lots of love, your favorite sister, Mbali." This letter is a good friendly letter because Mbali gives some details to her brother about what is happening and why she's missing him. Although she didn't use slang, the style is still friendly and quite chatty. Even though letters may seem old-fashioned, it's still exciting to receive one. So, let's review what we've covered in this lesson. We've talked about when writing letters or postcards to your friends, you should establish a friendly tone and style, use the appropriate diction for your audience, keep the content interesting. We also went through the correct format for setting out a friendly letter and a postcard. It is now time for today's lesson task. I want you to write a letter to a friend. Remember to use the correct format that we discussed earlier and to make your content lively, friendly, and interesting. Don't forget to send your letter. Imagine your friend's surprise when she sees it. Your friend might even send you a reply. Well, That's it from me for today. Remember to join me next time for a lesson on formal letter writing. Thank you. Bye-bye.